So, what's up people and welcome to the Short Mission 16 discussion of Spy Family. So, Short Mission 16 came out a few days ago, and as always I will leave a link to this mission that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So if you're interested, we'll go take a look at it before they pull this mission back. Okay, so I didn't expect Tatsuya Endo to bring out another short mission so soon after his last one. And typically he would spread them out, bringing them out during a time when he needs to take a rest, and so I am hoping he does rest well during this time. Now, what I found that was equally surprising was the comments that you saw in these chapters. Despite the fact that the majority of the fans know that mangakas have a really grueling schedule, and many of them often shorten even their lifespan due to the grueling job that they take, the comments were full of criticism about him taking yet another short mission, and that people were very much interested in seeing the continuation of the fight between Hemlock and Yor. And yes, I would be lying if I wasn't looking forward to it as well. But on the other hand, considering often the circumstances that these authors have to take the short mission, I was surprised at just how much criticism there was. And it would span from everything from get back to the mission, we don't want to see this sort of thing, or I wish you would go back to the Damien and Anya ship stories because those are the only thing that's important to the series. Various I want sort of comments. But for me, I enjoyed this short mission, and I do want to thank Tatsuya Endo once again for spending so much time in making such a nice series. And in any case, as much as the short missions are often independent stories that are a little bit away from the main story, this one actually happened to be in tandem with this current arc, for this chapter goes over the life of Matthew McMahon, right? Yor's handler. And if you recall in the last chapter, Matthew started talking about his married life for the first time, and we started to get a feeling of humanity from a person who was typically shown as a very cold-blooded killer. And so this chapter goes into more depth of that. And what we find out is that he is a very kind-hearted person who enjoys the company of both his pet, Kiki, and his wife. Yes, his wife seems to be the type that will order Matthew around, but I don't think Matthew is bothered by that at all. In fact, he may actually enjoy that. And despite all of the situations that may occur, she is busy preparing lunch for him every day. And in fact, his lunch gets the envy of Dominic at work. If you recall, he works at the same office as Yor, and Dominic says it must be really nice to have a girl make lunch for you all the time, and he doesn't argue. He says, yes, it's a wonderful thing. And what we find out is this conversation took place sometime before that cruise mission arc, because Dominic starts talking about how it must be really nice to be able to go on the Lower Lake cruise in the near future, and how Millie is so jealous about the fancy meals that he may have. Dominic also talks about the fact that since Matthew is so nimble, he must be a fine cook himself, but what we find out later is the cold Dominic comes back when he is preparing the meals for Kiki, which turns out to be live birds that he killed. And you see him take scissors and start dismantling the birds, and Matthew kind of states Dominic will probably never want to eat the types of meals that he prepares. And so this entire chapter actually takes place a little bit before that cruise ship arc. And you could see how Matthew is informing his wife, Maureen, that he will be off on a business trip for a little while. And that he's prepared all the meals for Kiki, who it turns out Maureen doesn't particularly like. And he says that, okay, you can go, but make sure you bring back a lot of souvenirs. And what's interesting is considering how dangerous the mission is coming up, what's on Matthew's mind is more about what sort of souvenirs he should get her. And in fact, there is a very heartwarming comment where he says that he needs to come back with souvenirs, which means that he needs to stay alive throughout this mission. And Tatsuya Endo gives a nice collage of many of the scenes that happened during the mission. And the next thing you know, it's after the mission and the shopkeeper is thanking Matthew for his hard work and asks him if he wants to join him for dinner. And in fact, Matthew, considering that this is the shopkeeper, says, "No, I'm going to go home to have dinner with my wife." And of course, Maureen is extremely worried because Matthew comes home with all these bandages on his face. And Matthew gives some sort of excuse to explain it away. And of course, Maureen is getting really worried about him and starts complaining about maybe you're getting too old for the job. To which Matthew answers, "No, if I could, I would, but I think I want to work as long as they want me there." And Maureen, although upset about the situation, says, "Fine, have it your way. If you would like something to eat, I'll whip you up a quick dinner." And probably the best scene you see in this entire chapter is this heartwarming smile that a person so cold as Matthew can bring out, and his comment which says thank you to Maureen for always putting up with him and taking care of him so much. And you could see him complimenting his cooking. And of course, Maureen answers, "Yeah, that's fine, but where are my souvenirs?" And so I really like this chapter with regards to this couple. This couple isn't the lovey-dovey couple that you see in something like Yor and Lloyd, although they won't admit it. But you see this couple who has lived together for so long and who trust each other and probably would not know what to do if they lost each other. And so they are a truly caring couple considering the personalities that they are. And by seeing their relationship this way, it makes us readers feel a lot more comfortable with this particular character and a lot more invested into his relationship. And so I thought Short Mission 16 was actually one of the better short missions in the series because it reflected upon a character that's probably going to come up and become very prominent in this particular arc. And by giving us this introduction, it gives us readers the ability to become more prepared for this chapter to come. And so I really enjoyed Short Mission 16. I don't know if anybody else did. I know there were a lot of complaints in the comments section about how Tatsuya Endo shouldn't be wasting our time by putting useless chapters like this up. But for me, I find these chapters very important because it actually does give depth to the story that would just end up being a shallow shoot 'em up sort of story without these sort of chapters. And so yeah, thank you Tatsuya Endo for giving us a background with regards to Matthew. And once the next chapter comes out, I'll bring out another video. I hope you join me at that time. But this is the Short Mission 16 discussion of Spy Family. If you saw it, what you think about it, any comments will be greatly appreciated. And until the next mission, happy manga reading, and as always, have a nice day everyone.